what is all this about? What is this commissioning? What does that mean to you? What happened?
Good question. I think the commissioning experience is wonderful. And for me, it means that finally, everything that I've been working towards in terms of ordination, my goal is to become an ordained elder in the United Methodist Church, all rights and privileges, whatever that is. And so the commissioning ceremony for me, that sacred service was just affirmation that everything that I'm doing is recognized by the powers that be,
Yeah.
and that they are, sending me forward with a blessing. And I'm like, okay, you're on the right track. So that's a part of the experience.
What kind of work did you have to do to get to this point?
A lot of work. A lot of work. And I had to think about it. You had mentioned some dates, and I was like, was it a year before? Seems like it was the year before I was doing this. There's a lot. In 2003,
Wow.
I don't want to scare anybody, but I went to my first basic lay speaking course or class. And so I was a lay speaker, lay preacher, I think it was at first. Now it's lay servant. But I did that for a long time. I became certified, and I started vacillating around 2014 is when I thought, well, maybe I should go to seminary, but I'm not sure.
Mm.
So I've been acting as a lay person, and I would say doing ministry. And then in 2014, I got a fellowship at the Pacific School of Religion, so Changemaker Fellow, a 1 year intensive, which I ended up having a certificate in spirituality and social change. And they basically said, you're in seminary already, so you might as well just do your MDiv.
We got you.
Your
So
ma-
now we're just
well,
getting.
you do your master's in divinity. So that was in 2015. I guess I really started the officially seminary, and then graduated in 2019. The time is going by so quickly. So just to give you a perspective of, there was a lot of discerning in between me saying, yes, I want to go to seminary. And even when I was saying, yes, I'll go to seminary, initially I thought I will be a hospital chaplain because I love chaplaincy. And one of the requirements for ordination is to have a unit of CPE or clinical pastoral education. So I did that and I loved it. But then I said, maybe I'm putting limits on myself by saying, I just want to do chaplaincy. And as I did my internship at a church in San Leandro, First United, UMC, I started seeing the bigger picture of what parish ministry would look like. And I said, I think I could do that if I was appointed to a church. And after graduation, shortly after, I got a call saying, you've been appointed to a church. It's like, okay. All right. So that's kind of the short of it. It's a long process because there are things that happen in between. For instance, I was part of the Bayview district, and then the districts, so they got reconfigured. And I felt like I got a little lost in the shuffle there in those reconfiguring. And boom had to change. Different people came off and then new people. So I felt like I kind of floated around a bit. And now I'm appointed to the Los Rios district, but I'm still a part of Bay district. So exciting and confusing, but awesome. So there's a lot. I feel like I'm rambling now. There's a lot of little nuances that happen in between. So the process is it's a long process. Yeah.
Wow.
So commissioning was like, oh my gosh, like, one step closer to the ultimate thing, which would be an elder in full connection.
Yeah.
I just think it's important for people to know that Yeah, you don't, and you may not decide right away. That a lot of people, lay people. I was a lay preacher, lay speaker, certified lay servant for a long time, and I wrestled with what is God calling me to do. I know it's greater, but I was very humble about, being a pastor. Like, who's gonna follow me? I mean, like,
Yeah.
is this? And I went through these stages where it was like, okay, so I'm waiting for the burning bush. People were laughing. I'm waiting, like it has to be clear. Marie, thou shalt preach. And ultimately, all the signs were there, but I was just kind of like a little nervous about it.
Yeah.
So it definitely is a process. And yeah, people should know that. You don't just say, hey. And I think it's important to know that, or it's interesting to know that initially I knew I had this call, but wasn't thinking that I was going to be a pastor.
Mm, mm.
I thought maybe hospital chaplaincy, which I loved that. Like the pastoral care piece and the kind of one-on-one with folks. But I thought, I don't know if I'm going to be a pastor. So in the process, additionally, what can lengthen the process is when you realize there's so many other ways to do ministry.
Mm. I want to know something about your 2020 assignment during the pandemic when you could not. What was that like?
It was difficult because there was a lot of other things going on. So I got a cross-cultural appointment to Sonoma United Methodist Church. So I'm the very first person of color, woman, Black woman, to be the pastor there. And so the church is a predominantly white church. So that was different and new, particularly in a time where there were so many challenges going on with race across the nation.
Yeah.
I thought that interesting. I was appointed for a time such as this, the very first
Yeah.
Black person, and at a time that's difficult, having those conversations about race is challenging in a pandemic. The other thing is that at the time, my husband was in a care facility. He had suffered a ischemic stroke and a brain hemorrhage in 2019.
Ooh.
And so he was hospitalized. And so I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? And honestly thinking, hmm, I, I don't know, should I be taking an appointment
Yeah.
at this time? But feeling like if I didn't, and no one, for the record, no one threatened me, but I just felt like your first appointment, you really can't say no. So I had several challenges, with the appointment itself, timing, my husband's illness, with, a pandemic. How am I going to get to know folks?
Yeah.
And so I jumped right in on my first Sunday, which was July 5th. So I've been doing this a year already.
Yeah.
By having they wanted to welcome me, drive-by welcome. I said, how about drive-by communion? And so we did drive-by communion as well, and had a welcome. And they were having Zoom on Sunday mornings, gathering. And I expanded a little and started recording myself preaching from the sanctuary. And then we were able to drop that into the Zoom. Weird watching me preach. It's like, I don't like this watching me preach. But at any rate, it's been an interesting time where
Yeah.
things have been just happening. And uh, interesting. Now we live stream. And our first open Sunday where we had in-person worship was last week. So we're doing both, kind of a hybrid thing now. And I think without, at the risk of sounding too confident, I think what we, meaning the ministry team and I, did well is to try to stay connected. So we were able to use the technology to our advantage. And even though I haven't met everyone in person, it's impossible. I've made some strides, with the help of some wonderful parishioners who are on the worship team and others. So here I am a year later.
Wow. Anything else you want to share?
Mm, I don't know. I think that if folks are struggling, if there are lay people who are doing things and they're struggling with, this call, you may not get a burning bush. I just need to tell you, um, you may just need to just, step out on faith and it will happen. You know, there were times I wondered, is this, am I on the right track with seminary? Am I going to grad? I had so many things going on. And if you receive the call, just trust that, God will provide everything that you need to answer that call. I think that's what I want because I don't have any regrets, but certainly I could have started the process a little sooner. Um, but the other thing is that I had heard rumors that, seminary is tough and, the process of ordination is long. So I thought I'll be 90 by the time I get ordained. Or will I ever get appointments? So things are changing. A lot of people retiring. So there's the time for ministry is now. And with what we've gone through in the pandemic,
Yeah.
there's certainly folks who are needing the body of Christ, the community of faith, to help them through this season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, God bless you. And thank you so much for sharing, Marie. God bless
You're
you.
welcome. Take
Okay.
care.